Okay, lesson 54 is about ratios. So we're going to talk about ratio numbers and actual numbers. At school, the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 4. If there are 78 boys, how many girls are there? So the ratio is the 3 to 4. Sometimes you'll see a ratio written as 3 to 4, or it could be written like a fraction, 3 to 4, or with words, 3 to 4. So the ratio is boys to girls, 3 boys for every 4 girls. Our actual numbers are that there are 78 boys. We want to know how many girls are there. So you can make it into a table or a chart, however you want to look at it. And then we're going to figure out how to solve this. We are going to write it as equivalent fractions. So 3 to 4 is equal to 78 to question mark, or we might use a G for girls. We're going to solve this by, well, I think we've talked about cross multiplying before, but the reason that cross multiplying works is because we want to get a common denominator. In this case, the common denominator would be 4 times G. Over here, we already have a 4, so we just need to multiply by a G on the top and the bottom. Remember that multiplying by G over G is really just multiplying by 1. So we can do that on this side because it's keeping the fraction the same. We would then have 3G over 4G. On this side, we want 4G on the bottom, but we already have a G. So we can multiply by 4 on the top and the bottom. And 4 over 4 is just 1. So we're just multiplying this fraction by 1. It's staying the same. Now we have 78 times 4 over 4G. Once the bottom of the fractions are the same, we can ignore them in this equation because it's the same kind of fraction, so we can ignore the kind and just talk about the amount of fraction. So now we have 3G is equal to 78 times 4. I'm going to have to do a little quick calculation because I don't know what that is. So 78 times 4 is 312. I sure hope I'm right. Okay, so 3G is equal to 312. To get G by itself, we have 3 of them. We need to divide by 3 to find out what 1G would be equal to. So if I divide both of these by 3, I can write it as a fraction. 3 over 3 is 1. So now we're left with G. And then 312 divided by 3 is going to be 104. So there are 104 girls at the school. All right, my next problem is a bird sanctuary. There's a bird sanctuary and they have parrots and macaws. And the ratio of parrots to macaws is 4 to 9. So there's a lot more macaws than there are parrots. If there are 117 macaws, then how many parrots are there? So again, if I want to write in my table, I have my ratio and then my actual numbers. I have parrots and macaws. My ratio is 4 to 9. My actual is 117 to P. And then I can take these and just write this fraction and this as a fraction. So 4 over 9 is equal to 117 over P. And I proved before how the cross multiplying works, but we can go straight to just multiplying across and across. So 4 times P is equal to 117 times 9. have to do 117 times 9. And that's 1,053. And this does not work out the way that I thought it would. Is equal to 4p. Divide by 4. That is not correct, but we're going to keep going with it. It should have come out as a whole number. So it's 263, and for some reason a quarter of a parrot. So I'm sorry my numbers didn't work out, but if you're doing it from the book, it should come out as a whole parrot. But we're going to have about 263 parrots that would be right here. Whoops, 263. I think what I did is it should have been parrots and not macaws. So this is how it would work. You're going to be putting fractions together and you're going to cross multiply. You're going to multiply across here and you're going to multiply across here. In the last one I proved why that worked, because what we were doing is we were getting a common denominator of, in this case, 9 times p. So you're multiplying here p on top and bottom because that's not there, and then over here 9 on top and bottom because the 9's not there. But you can shortcut it by just multiplying across and multiplying across. So that's kind of the shortcut, but it works because you're getting a common denominator at the beginning, and then once you have a common denominator, you can ignore the denominator and just work with the top. Why can we ignore the denominator? Because they are set equal to each other, okay? You can't ignore a common denominator when you're trying to add fractions together, but because these are set equal, we can ignore the denominators and just equal the top.